With a new push towards zero emissions by 2050, the mining industry faces new challenges. So just how does Fortescue plan to face them?
I went into this industry, which is of course a huge industry with full frontal assault, and managed to break into it. But by its very nature, that made me a carbon emitter. And I've chewed at that. I did a PhD in marine ecology and became very aware of global climate science. And that cemented my view that we were slowly going to turn the world to toast if we don't change. 4 years ago, we held a big think tank to see if it would be possible to turn our own operations green through the production of hydrogen. And then last year, I became absolutely convinced that it could be done technically.
These are all the big innovations and entrepreneurs that have built this country, and we always, as I said, tend to think about entrepreneurs as IT people, whereas we don't think about Lang Hancock or Twiggy Forrest as entrepreneurs, and yet they are, because they did that thing. They took a risk, they saw an opportunity that no one else could, they organised, they pulled people together, and they stood by those risks they were taking.
We've grown to become a very significant resource company. We're now going down the path of being a resource and renewable energy company, and we're well placed to be at the leading edge of that transition and developing new export markets, new revenue opportunities. So we're going to focus on growing and sustaining our iron ore business and at the same time be at the forefront of the transition to renewable energy.
We think that it's going to become cheaper than diesel, and we can help turn Australia from being a massive energy importer and coal exporter to a massive energy producer, all green, pollution free.
We've got a target to be carbon neutral by 2030. That is the most ambitious target in Australia, particularly in our sector. So carbon neutrality is a big commitment, and to do that we're going to have to provide the renewable energy that we will need to power our operations.
What I learnt from my Anaconda nickel days is that you can use hydrogen for two things. In metals, you can use it to create energy, and you can use it to reduce impurities from a metal, exactly what metallurgical coal does. But if you use hydrogen, the only thing you send up the stack is steam or water, pure water.
I think Australia needs to develop the policies and settings in place. What we've seen is actually more recently a fairly rapid acceleration and recognition that there needs to be more ambitious targets. Quite frankly, 2050 is probably too late. So are we on track? I think business is taking the lead. Fortescue is certainly taking the lead to be carbon neutral by 2030. I think there'll be strong stakeholder support for companies who are more ambitious in their targets, and I do think that policy and government will need to catch up with business.